This Gemini update for Google Workspace and Google Drive is much better than the previous basic capabilities. I'm talking legit Gemini capabilities to help you create more complete documents in Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. For the Gemini update in Google Docs, a blank doc will give you this option to use Gemini in a modal to create a sophisticated doc. But if you end up closing that modal and these options disappear, go to the menu, click on File, hover over New, and choose Help Me Create. That'll bring up the modal again. This shows you examples of docs you can create. Down here, you can provide your prompt describing the doc that you want in detail, and then click on Create. Gemini in Google Docs is incredibly fast. I just clicked on Generate, and it's already creating the document with sections here on the left panel, and it's already finished. This report is 4 pages and includes placeholders for files I can point to, dates I can insert. It includes formatting for bullet points, tables, and even a header image. You can still use the Gemini icon in the top right corner, and I use this to add actual tools and platforms for the research. That was the only change I made. Click on the hamburger menu for more options where you can see your history of your previous conversations. You can also use gems for workflows that you created in Gemini. This icon, you can create a new conversation, or if you click on this icon, this drop down will show you the option to expand the right panel. Here's another example for a requirements document I created for a smart home display. All these sections are key components of this document. You can also create content based on files that you attach. If you click on Add Sources here, add files from your Google Drive, or you can use tools like Nano Banana to create images for your document. Gemini and Google Sheets will help you organize and make sense of your spreadsheets. It's achieved a state-of-the-art benchmark when it comes to manipulating spreadsheets with a 70.48% success rate, beating all the other models and coming pretty close to the human success rate. In Google Sheets, what we'll do is use this data here, paste it, and in this right panel, we'll ask it to create a P&L statement. Gemini gives us a preview of what the data looks like, and by default, it'll suggest to insert the data beginning from the cell that we had highlighted before we submitted the prompt. So we're going to ignore this call to action to insert it, scroll down to the bottom, highlight this A19 cell here, click on discard, and then click insert right here. And that's where it'll put the table. And then what we're going to do is highlight column A, those records there, and ask Gemini to prepare a cash flow statement and create a column next to it to indicate whether each transaction was a financing, investing, or operating activity. Here are our categories. We can bold the column headers. The next thing we'll do is ask Gemini to create a dashboard from the records in these files in Google Drive. So in our right panel here, we'll reference the file by typing @ and then the name of the file, and we'll find the file, select it, and then let Gemini go to work. You can watch the steps that it takes to analyze the file and complete your task for you. Click on preview or just insert them into your sheet. Below the data visualization, it'll include the source data. For the other assets, if you click on insert, it'll create a brand new tab for it. So if you want to insert the additional data visualizations onto the same sheet, click on more options here, copy the chart, click on the cell where you want to insert the data visualization, and then you can adjust the sizing. Notice for this chart, it doesn't include the source table because we only copied the chart. If we delete this data table for this chart, it'll also remove the data. So we'll go over to our right panel here, copy this chart, go back to our sheet here, and then paste the chart, and then resize it so that it covers more area and covers the table. We can ask Gemini to give us another chart to show us some other categories, like specific categories of our spending, but we'll move on to the key insights. If you copy these key insights, it'll just paste all of these insights line by line. So we're just going to click on a cell here and then insert the whole thing so it kind of keeps the formatting. I asked Gemini where I could cut spending. It analyzed the data and gave me recommendations to look at where the most money was spent and see if any adjustments could be made. Whenever you prompt Gemini in this right panel here, make sure you select the correct sources and exclude any sources that you don't need. Otherwise, your data and your analysis will be muddied. Moving on to Google Slides. When you open up a new slide document, it'll give you this modal. You can choose the new options to create slides or infographics with Gemini. It doesn't matter what option you choose because in the right panel, you can choose any of those options there. Scroll through the options, see what you like, hover over to reuse the prompt. So I like this one, and I also like this one as well. So what you can do is reuse the prompt and then change the wording for any of the copy here while keeping the rest of the colors and other formatting. Right now, for this release of Gemini in Google Slides, you can only create slides one by one. The ability to create entire slide decks is coming soon, and I'll show you some other options for Google tools where you can create Google Slides that you can edit. But if you want to do everything in Google Slides, this is the workflow I would use. Click on the Gemini icon in the top right corner and remember the product requirements document we created with Gemini earlier. We'll use that by clicking on the plus sign to add it as a source. So we're going to select it in this modal here. Here we have it, and we'll click on add, and then we'll prompt it to create an outline for a slide deck using the attached document. So this is the outline that it's giving us. Open up the AI creation panel by clicking on the nano banana icon, and in the prompt field, we'll use this to create a professional title slide. Delete the text box elements, then click on the image to preview it. Instead of inserting it as a new slide, click on the drop down arrow to insert it on the current slide. Then we can edit the image. So we'll edit it by replacing name with growth learner. You can change the date as well, but if you click on the existing image on the slide and then click on the new image that was generated, you'll have the option to replace it. So we can choose that one, and then if we want, we can generate some other elements, crop it, or look at the format options. But if we right click on it, we can choose the option to set the image as a background. So this is what we have as our title slide. For the new slide, you have to, again, create another slide with these options down here, along with the content generated in the Gemini panel, so you can copy the content and use it for the next slide in this prompt field. For now, you'll have to generate each slide one by one until they release the feature to generate an entire deck like they have with Notebook LM, where it generates multiple slides for you, but you can still revise and edit each slide by prompting the changes that you want to see. As you might have caught, another option is to use Gemini and Canvas. So we reference product requirements doc that we created earlier, and we submitted a more simple prompt, but it produced a full deck of 13 slides. We could add a graphic to improve this title slide right here, but we can just look through the slide deck quickly, and this looks pretty good. All the graphics, all the key points, and we can export this to slides. When it's ready, click on Open Slides in the bottom left corner here, where you'll be able to edit the text along with the other elements. You can see I can click on this text box, or I can even beautify this slide, generate a new image for this title slide. If you choose one of those options, it brings us back to the AI creation panel. So we beautified this slide. I like that it added a graphic to the background, but I'm going to ask it to remove all the text, keep the graphics, but use a black background. It didn't quite follow the instructions, but I like that it included a graphic, so I inserted that into the title slide and cropped it while keeping my text boxes. So right now, while there are better workflows that involve going outside of Google Slides, we can expect Google to continue iterating on the Gemini experience in Slides. If you found this useful, like the video and leave a comment. If you want more content on AI, workflow automation, and analytics, subscribe to the channel.